Finally, the car pulls in front of us and slams on its brakes, and we smash into the rear of it. I immediately call 911 as two women get out of the car. I lock my door and I look at him and he says, "It's my fiancé."
Whoa!
Oh my God. Welcome back to Delve Deck Stories. I'm Tess. This is Gabe. And today we are reading some dating horror stories.
Ooh, I've got some myself.
You've got some?
Yeah,
These
yeah.
are all submitted by Gabe.
By me.
All right. Our first story comes from Leena, and it is from the venting deck. What's the worst date you ever went on? Went out with a guy I worked with against my own better judgment to the only real restaurant in town, which was okay. Off to a great start.
Yeah. Is this a small town?
I assume so.
There was
It's
only
a
one
giant
restaurant.
City. He was flirty and actually seemed kind of fun. We went for a ride around the river and lake and talked, which was nice. As we were heading back to my place for him to drop me off, we were accosted by another vehicle. It tried to run us off the road by slamming into the side of his truck repeatedly.
What?
Oh my God.
Are they trying to kidnap them?
Clearly. I was panicking and he kept saying, "Aw,
Oh, not again.
Not again." People are always accosting my car. Finally, the car pulls in front of us and slams on its brakes, and we smash into the rear of it. I immediately call 911 as two women get out of the car. I lock my door and I look at him and he says, "It's my fiancé." Like I was supposed to be relieved or something.
Whoa!
Oh, man.
I was expecting them to be like exes that came out and they're like, "We're coming back for
Yeah.
payback." And it's like, you know, they got
No,
clubs.
this is even more justified. Oh my God. The fiancé came raging on my side of the truck, and all I could say was, "I didn't know. I'm sorry. No, I won't fight you."
The dedication and commitment of the fiancé to be like, "Yeah, I'm going to trash my car."
To trash your car.
Yeah. Like, to make a point, I'm going to trash my car.
Yeah.
And
You know,
just get after you.
honestly, I kind of get it. As a fellow crazy person. Okay. I got a ride home from the cops that showed up as the women were beating the piss out of him. Grade A douchebag that guy was.
As soon as you read that line, I was like, "Oh, she got a ride home from the women."
No, yeah.
They're like,
the
"We're
cops.
BFFs. We're going to brunch."
Honestly, I would love that if that was how it ended. They
Yeah.
were like, "And now we're best friends," and that man is...
He's in a wheelchair.
He's gone. And then we all beat him up. That is a terrible date.
Yeah. She says that there's only one restaurant in town. Pretty much, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
That would imply that it's a small town.
I do have questions about how you didn't know that this man was engaged. Is that what you were about to say? Because I was about to say that.
I was going to say, like, if you're in a small town and there's one main place to get dinner,
Yeah.
everyone knows everyone's business.
She did say only real restaurant.
Okay. What does that even mean? Real restaurant? I take that as it's a small
Now
town.
you're like, all right.
Yeah, let's get into
maybe
semantics of
this.
this. When I hear real restaurant, I think it's like the only
only Olive
restaurant.
Garden.
But yeah, exactly. You know, it's Applebee's. It's legit. But when I hear that, I think like, okay, there's a limited number of restaurants, which means it's a small town, which means everyone would know someone else's business. That business being, this dude is engaged to this woman.
He really hid it from everyone. Maybe she was new in town.
Maybe she was visiting.
A lot of questions here, but
Sounds like
good
he got
for
what he
that
deserved.
fiancé.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, this dude sucks. Our second story comes from Ellis. It is also the venting edition, and it is, what's the worst date you ever went on? That's the theme, guys. That's what we're doing. So this guy suggests a walk in the park, right? So I'm wearing combat boots and jeans. Bro shows up and his profile pic was at least 10 years out of date. Plus, he has one of those awkward denial comb-overs, but whatever, physical appearance isn't everything. So we go to walk in the park, by which it quickly becomes apparent he means hike really fast through the woods.
Yeah, those are not... Definitely
Those are
not the same
thing. And also, I'm very confused by the hike really fast aspect of it. Like
it feels like trail running. You know, you're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I want to sprint around. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. I don't want that, period. I definitely don't want that on a
first date.
Not the first one. Not any of them.
Yeah. Look,
never take me running through the woods. Mind you, I am just wearing normal socks, not hiking socks, because walking in a park does not equal hiking through the woods at speed.
Yeah, it's not. Because I mean, like, when someone says walk through a park or walk in a park, I'm not thinking hike through
No, there's
the
no
woods.
elevation, or if there is, like, inclines. It's minimal at
I'm
best.
also assuming it's like there's a concrete path.
Yes.
A body of water, people, dogs, benches, like a park.
A duck or two.
Yeah, you know, who knows? I'm not expecting to go to the woods and be like, are we going to catch a bear today?
Are we going to sprint? Bro is wicked tall, by the way. Like, I'm 5'10", and he had more than 6 inches on me. So he's... So he's going noom on his stork legs over hill and dale and through ankle-deep mud. What are we doing? What is this?
The commitment to go through such treacherous terrain is weird.
It's weird.
Why?
Why are you sprinting around?
Why do you? Yeah.
I'm saying things like, let's slow down, and where are we? And I think I'm getting a blister. And seriously, where are we?
Yeah.
All good questions. Dude keeps saying, it's fine, let's keep going. He is obviously lost, but keeps darting off in new directions. Why so fast?
Through, and he's like, I'll find a new way. Where are they going? Why are they not looping back to where they started?
I'm speed limping after him because I don't want to be left alone in the woods, and also wondering when he'll murder me.
I mean, fair question.
Yeah, this is what
you gotta get.
Woods is not a first date for that reason too.
Yeah, it's just the two of you. What time of day is this? Like afternoon, dusk, like evening? Like what's going on?
Yeah. Finally, we come suddenly into this clearing with a big power what's-it in it. You know, those giant metal structures with a gazillion power lines? And this clearing is covered with vultures, like easily a couple hundred vultures.
What?
Is this where the guy was like planning to go?
I think this is where he was like...
He's like, this is where I hide the bodies.
He's like, I had to give it to the vultures. Because vultures pick you apart. Perfect crime.
Now, I love vultures. Vultures
this is a turn I did not expect.
Taking a twist. Now it's a good date.
She's like, ooh, this is my jam.
Vultures are my jam. So... So I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. But Lanky McMurder is having none of it and just zips through this wonderland place of carrion fowl, heading off in a new rando direction. I am hardcore limping at this point. I fall upon my faithful Sentra with glad cries, and Lurch's more alarming cousin holds his arms out for a hug. And I'm like, why the not? There's witnesses. If you were gonna do something, I'd be vulture chow by this point.
That's one way to look at it.
So I hug him, and he picks me up off the ground, puts me back down, and I'm blinking at him like he's a dinosaur that got loose from the circus. Then he picks me up again.
Picking up once is like, okay. Then we pick up again?
Nobody wants to be randomly picked up.
Relocating people?
Yeah.
It's very weird. It's a weird flex.
He's just trying to show like this person how strong.
He's like, I know you didn't come across in my Tinder profile,
but I can carry you around, and I sprint through the woods. So
some people say I'm the world's strongest man.
Finally, I get in my car and head home to soak my poor feet. There's a message from the guy saying how well it went and when can we meet again. I say thanks for an interesting evening, but I'm not feeling a connection. To be absolutely fair, he expressed surprise but accepted this. It took hours to get the mud off my good combat boots and a couple weeks for my feet to heal.
The one part when you read how a text message came from him to her and be like, oh, I had a great time. I also was in a similar situation. I went out on a date with a girl, thought it was the worst date. She was mean, insulting. She was sarcastic, her dry humor, all of this stuff. I left and I was like, I'm never going on another date with her. She texted me later that night and said, wow, that was such a great night. Or like, we should go on another date. Do you want to go? And I was like, oh my God. And then we dated for a few weeks.
Gabe, why would you do that?
I don't know. I mean, look, any affection
You're
sent
just
my
like,
way.
whatever.
What can I say? I'm a flawed human, you know? Someone's like, oh my God, I did find you funny and I really had a great time, even though that was not the signs I was getting.
The whole time she was mean to you.
Yeah. I was like, to her, it was just
you
like,
just kind of like when people are mean to you.
What can I say? But hey, like I said, it only lasted a few weeks and it was done.
Did you end it or did she end it?
I ended it.
I'm so proud of you, Gabe.
You know. We're all growing here.
We're all learning
We're becoming
things.
Adults. I was in my early 20s. Mistakes were made.
Yeah,
you know?
we all make terrible mistakes in our early 20s. Mm-hmm. Our next story comes from Candice. It is also venting edition. What's the worst date you ever went on? Mm. A guy I met on Tinder invited me on a date to the zoo.
Red flag. I'm just going to say from the get-go, no.
Just immediately
like, why would you go, it smells. You look at the animals, you're like, oh man, it's like a little prison for these animals. You feel bad, okay? This isn't, look, I'm not saying you can't go to a zoo, but a zoo on a first date doesn't feel like it's gonna really knock it out of the park.
No.
If somebody was like, let's go to the zoo, I'd be like, here's a better idea. Look,
let's sprint through the woods.
Yeah, let's go meet the pack of vultures. I got a better one.
You want to see some animals? These ones are in the wild.
Yeah, and they're by these electrical wires. It's crazy.
It's so cool. I love animals, and it was the start of summer, so I figured it'd be great to get my steps in and look at critters. I show up, and he's wearing a clown sweater, long jeans, and boots. Meanwhile, I'm in jean shorts and a tank top with a water bottle. I was confused why he was dressed so warmly since it was 90 degrees and humid, but I ignored it. We got on the subway and I tried making conversation, but he barely responded to anything.
Also, like,
I don't know.
I just want to know what kind of flair he has on this clown
I'm
apparel.
Interested in this clown sweater.
Are there bows? Are there bells? What's going on?
I told him how excited I was to go to the zoo since I hadn't been to one in a while. He doesn't respond to this. Weird, but I assumed he must be nervous and let it go. Then we get off at our stop and he goes, "We're here." I look up, confused. We aren't at the zoo. We're at the Death Museum.
What? Okay, those aren't even anywhere related.
Those are not the same thing. And people need to stop taking people on dates and lying about where they're taking them. You need to stop doing that.
It's one thing to lie about your appearance. It's a whole different thing to lie about where you're taking the person. Because that's like kind of kidnapping.
And you're not dressed appropriately.
Yeah.
You're throwing someone off. It's a weird thing to do.
Yeah, it's a weird power move, whether you're intentionally doing it or not. But again, you went to the Death Museum and you told this person it was the zoo.
Would you rather go on a date to the Death Museum or the zoo?
The zoo.
The zoo.
Because at least at the zoo, like I could get something to drink. I could have a snack. I could, have some joy in like watching a monkey throw.
They might have snacks at the Death Museum.
I don't know if I'd want to. If there were snacks at a Death Museum, I would wonder like, are these expired snacks?
Yeah.
Right? It just feels like that would be the theme,
Mm-hmm.
Like
everything here is dead. All right, Death Museum. As in a museum with real corpses and organs. I may have been into it if I had known that's where we were going, but he asked me to go to the zoo. And instead of looking at cute, alive animals, we spent the whole date awkwardly looking at colons and skulls and dead bodies.
I'm sorry. Did they just go to a morgue?
It sounds like he took her to...
That's what it feels like.
He's like, this is
corpses,
where I work.
Organs.
When we were finally done, I was very cold. The museum was freezing because of, the dead bodies.
It's a morgue.
It's a morgue.
You're in a fridge.
And starving, so we decided to get some food from a truck nearby. While we were there, a lady walked by with a gorgeous dog, and I said, "Aw, so cute," and complimented her dog. After she left, my date just looks at me, disgusted, and says he hates dogs.
I don't think he hates dogs. I think he hates alive things.
He hates anything that's living.
He's like, I can barely stand you as my date because you have a pulse and a warm blood.
At this point, I'm like, cool, this date is over. I quickly finished eating and told him I had to get going. Never saw a creepy clown dude again.
Good.
Yeah, don't lie to people about where you're taking them.
Yeah. It's just wild to think that you could tell someone a zoo. At least in the other one, you were like, oh, we're going to a park. And it's like, okay, I guess it depends on what your definition of a park is. And also like a walk versus a running. But this one is just not even anywhere related.
It's not the same thing at all.
We are in completely opposite ends of the spectrum. One is it's outside, it's warm, it's fun, you are with other people, the things are alive. The other one is in a fridge with corpses. It's a morgue. Nowhere are they related.
I'm glad you didn't see him again, Candice. Our next story comes from Patti. This is also What's the Worst Date You Ever Went On from the Venting Edition. Went out with a guy who lived about an hour away from me. I texted him to let him know I just like wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't like people enough to go an hour for literally anyone.
The only people I'm going an hour for are family. Mm-hmm.
And that's rare.
Yeah. And like if I've got friends who I'm like, you're basically family, I've known you for so long. And
although that's a vacation.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm staying the weekend.
I'm going, look, once I take that hour trek, I'm like,
guess I live here now.
Yep. I'm not driving back in the same day.
That's for sure.
I'm sleeping here and I'll leave tomorrow.
I texted him to let him know I was on my way, and then he proceeded to text me every few minutes asking me if I was still coming. Very needy.
Yeah.
So much so that I finally had to call him and tell him to stop because I can't text and drive at the same time. In hindsight, I should have turned around and went home right then. All right, I can't wait. Buckle up.
Yeah, literally. Why wouldn't you just like share the location for like an hour? You know, you know how you text someone, you're like, hey, share my location for 30 minutes, an hour, the whole day kind of thing?
I understand what you're saying, but I just like am so creeped out by sharing location.
I mean, I understand that. Yeah,
I don't know if I'd share my location on a first date. I think I would just be like, I'm not driving an hour for you, needy person.
Yeah. Like if she's like, hey, I'll show up, I'll be there, I'm an hour away, I'd be like, cool, let me get things ready, go get some snacks, whatever, clean up the house. If the person doesn't show up by like hour 2, then I'd be like, hey.
You'd wait 2 hours before being like, are you okay?
I don't know. I mean, like, traffic, you stop, things. I want to give like...
you give them some leeway.
If someone is driving an hour, I'm
that's
like, look.
That's a long time.
I'm like, look, I will give you the benefit of the doubt.
That's why you don't drive an hour to see somebody.
Yeah, but I would definitely be like, look, you're making the trek to me. The least I could do is just like give you time in case
to drive.
In case it takes more than that, you know?
Yeah. Also the like, are you still coming? It's like, how many times do you need to be reassured that this person is still coming?
Sounds like you're insecure, bro.
Yeah. Finally, I get to the place where he told me to meet him. It was a store parking lot. Since
what? I'm sorry. We're not even going to a home or an apartment. We're going to a parking lot?
I mean, maybe public place, you know? Since we were supposedly just meeting there and then going to dinner, I texted him and asked where he was. He replies insisting I come into the store. He absolutely would not come outside to meet me.
Is he real? Is he a bot?
So I had to spend the first hour of this date following him around an auto parts store while he pawed through every display and bin, not talking to me very much at all.
So he was still working? He was still on his shift.
Just like shuffling through things. Like, what?
Why do you have to do that at night? Like, why can't you show up tomorrow and do that? You know?
Why do you need to do this on a date?
Yeah.
He's
just, I mean, maybe he's just like, I know my auto parts.
I know, but he's not. He's just like browsing.
Yeah, that's how you show anyone that you know what you're doing.
He's like, you chicks shuffle. Love shopping. Mm-hmm. She's gonna love this.
You love window cleaner, oil.
Finally, he says he's ready to leave the store. I thought we were going to eat as we had originally planned. I was starving, but he said no.
So she drives an hour, then spends another hour in the auto parts store, and then immediately after, he's like, actually, we're not going to dinner.
No.
Ever.
I gotta go return my work uniform to my old job first.
Well, these are daytime activities. daytime errands.
You do run your errands at a different time, bro. Does he not have a car? Is he just using her for a car?
Oh, that would be something. Be like, hey, can I hitch a ride somewhere? He's like, oh,
He's like, pick me up here and we'll go to dinner. And he's like, actually, I got to get all this stuff done.
Also, after dinner, could you drop me off at home?
Yeah.
If you want to stay, that's cool too, but like, you don't have to. No big deal.
She goes, okay, I guess.
No.
Nah, just leave.
Leave.
I leave my car at the store and we take his car. All right, so he has a car. Why are you... Bro, run these errands at a different time.
It's called working business hours.
Just different time.
Past job.
Do it.
Drop it off. Put it in a bag.
Any
Leave it
other
by
time.
the door. Go to the auto parts store during the day.
All right, so we take his car to this factory where he parks.
This is leading up to some serial killer moment.
Yeah.
We're like, so we went to this abandoned factory
Yeah.
that he said he worked at for years.
And then tells me to hop out so he can lock his car while he goes inside to return his uniform. It was cold and rainy, but apparently he expected me to just stand in it. After 15 minutes, I was like, this, and I went in the lobby of this place to get out of the rain. What? I don't know
I'm
about
just-
any of
I'm
it. All
curious.
of this is terrible.
I'm curious if they're going to reveal what type of business this actually is.
I don't know. I mean, just like generic factory, maybe an auto factory. I don't know. For some reason, it took this guy 45 more minutes to return his uniforms.
Oh my God.
So I was glad I went into the building to get warm. But apparently this was a huge no-no to him because when he came back out from wherever he went, he glared at me and asked me why I didn't just wait outside in the cold rain for almost an hour.
She drove an hour. She spent an hour in the store. And then he spent 45 minutes, almost an hour, dropping off his uniform?
None of this makes any sense. And again, run your errands at a different time.
Yeah.
Why would you expect a person to participate in this?
At this point, if I was in her shoes, definitely
You're
be
leaving.
hangry. I'm someone's worst enemy.
Yeah, I am done with this. At last, he decided it was time to go to the restaurant. Finally. I sat there trying to keep a poker face while he talked to the waitress like he was addressing a toddler, messily stuffed his face and chewed with his mouth open wide, and kept glancing around every 30 seconds like he was scared someone was going to see him out with a woman in public. None of this is shocking.
Yeah.
Plus, he kept asking me invasive and crude sex questions the whole time, too. Lovely.
What?
This dude sucks.
I guess there's really no line for the guy. He's
No.
like, I will waste your time
Truly.
coming to me. We won't go to dinner for 3 hours. When we finally do, I'm going to then be shitty to the person that's serving us. I'm going to be impolite. I'm going to
Just
not
be
have
gross.
proper etiquette, gross, like nasty.
And then ask you weird sex questions. Why wouldn't he? You know?
At this point, it just feels like so on
This is
brand.
totally this dude. I quickly inhaled the salad and managed to pay for it at the front without him seeing me. I told him I needed to go to the little girl's room and bounced. Luckily, this restaurant was across the highway from the store where I had left my car, so I crossed it real quick and blocked him everywhere before I even got the car warmed up.
Okay. So not only did she have to go to this spot, park in the parking lot, but the restaurant they were going to was right
Literally
across
the
whole time.
highway.
And he's like,
I love
oh, you know what? Before we go to dinner, the patience that she has and the like self-restraint,
Yeah.
applause to you because
I
I
guess.
could not have done that.
But I'm glad, blocked him everywhere.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. And our final story is from Jacinda. What's the worst date you ever went on? From our venting deck. When I was in college, I went on 2 dates with this guy, Nate, and they both went pretty well. We had a lot in common, so I agreed to get dinner with him for our third date. He took me to this really fancy restaurant, which as a broke college student was very impressive to me. Nate was in the military, so I figured this must be what a full-time salary buys you. Sure.
Yeah.
Nice. Great. Off to a good start.
Seems normal so far.
The date was going really well, but I knew he was going to be deployed soon, and I was not interested in being in a long-distance relationship. Still, there was a lot of chemistry, and I was young and wanted to have some fun. So I put thoughts of how this was all going to have to end soon aside and decided to just enjoy the date. We're talking about all sorts of things, and then he asks if I see myself having kids in the future. I was like, not right now, but probably someday. He said he felt the same way and loved how aligned we were. Okay. Then he goes, you're the type of person I could see myself spending the rest of my life with.
Whoa. Oh, this is the first date?
Third date.
Third date. Still pretty early.
Pretty early.
Yeah.
Not horrible, but early. Immediately, I'm having this internal struggle. On one hand, I really liked him, but on the other hand, I didn't want to date someone who was going to be so far away.
Yeah.
Fair. Then, what he did next changed everything. He gets out of his seat, gets down on one knee, and pulls out a ring on the third date.
I mean, I love it as a story, but I'm also like, oh God, that's terrible.
It's so horrifying. Will you marry me? Nate asks. I just burst out laughing. I couldn't help myself. I think for a second I thought the whole thing was a joke, but then I realized he was serious.
Now, I have a lot of questions. Mainly, did he always have the ring? Or did he buy the ring
waiting
for her? And he was just like waiting. He's like, I'm going to deploy if I'm...
And we gotta...
He's like, if we have babies, if we get married, there's like an extra bonus to me...
being married.
Yeah.
He quickly gets back into his chair and is like, I thought we had a connection. So I told him that I liked him a lot, but it was not trying to get married at 20. Then he goes into how the military has great benefits and it would be really smart for me to marry him.
See?
I don't know. Like, I guess, but like...
If you're trying to make the argument for someone of like, hey, we should get married at 20, and you're only like pro in the column, after 3 dates in, but you're only pro in the column of like, hey, why you should is we get good benefits for that? No.
It's not worth it.
No.
You're still on your parents' insurance until 26, baby.
I know. Like, I don't want to lose that, you know?
I kept saying, but I barely know you. And he kept arguing that we knew each other more than people who have arranged marriages do before they get married. Then I said, oh...
I don't know, because with arranged marriages, you're meeting the family and the other people that are involved.
Entirely different situation.
Yeah. Also, you are still meeting the other person. It's not like, oh, you just show up on the wedding day and you're like, and you're married.
Yeah.
No, there's a courting process even though they are arranged.
Yeah. Then I said, okay, answer one question and I will think about it. What's my middle name? He stared at me speechless for what felt like forever and then yells, why did you think I brought you to such a nice restaurant? This was obviously a proposal. What? Now we're both getting angry. He's telling me I led him on. I'm telling him it's insane to propose to someone on the third date, especially without discussing it first. Then he tells me he's already told his parents and they are so excited for us. And what is he supposed to tell them now? What are these parents' problem?
What is going on?
What is his parents were just like, that's totally chill. We've never met this person, but we're so happy for you.
Yeah. They're like, way to lock it in, son. Get those benefits.
Yeah.
What?
No.
I'm just going to say that I feel like the parents also may be under the impression that they were maybe dating for longer than they were. And that
I don't know. My parents, if they hadn't met somebody and I was like, I'm going to propose to them, they would be like, huh?
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure.
Like,
any normal person would be like, can we meet them first?
Yeah, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like, where are they?
Is this a family ring? Yeah, I don't know.
Where do they live? What do they do? You know? What is their middle name?
Yeah.
You know?
Do you know anything about them? I was like, that's your problem, bud. It is. The whole thing was so awkward, and I'm sure the whole restaurant was staring at us. We got the check, and as we were leaving, he starts crying and says, can we at least have sex before we break up?
No.
I'm not proud of it, but I did say yes to one thing that night.
I just wonder.
This is such like a college thing.
I just, like, was that I also have follow-up questions, which is this the first time they had sex? And that
Sounds
was
like it.
That was the thing?
It was the third date. He was like, we got to get married first. And then he was like, all right, fine, I'll do it.
All right, what's my backup prize?
Yeah. I don't know that I would have followed through on that. This guy
I'd be like, hey, thanks for dinner. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's like the gall. I mean, it's a dude, so
essentially.
again, I want to apologize. We suck. But the expectation that they go on this date to whatever this fancy quote unquote place is, that he's going to he strikes out with the proposal and he's like, well, I mean, can I at least get laid? Like, that's such a dude mentality.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, come on. I gotta at least.
Man, I'm entitled to that at least. And it's like, you're not entitled to anything, dude.
No.
And so the fact that he would even say that, I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but not crazy.
It is a crazy thing. Everything that he has proposed in this story is wild.
He proposed over endless breadsticks.
Yeah, it was Olive Garden. That's it for Delve Deck Stories. If you enjoyed this episode, you can like, subscribe, comment, and if you have a terrible date story or any other story that you would like to share with us, you can go to share.delvedeck.com and also get your own Delve Deck and share these crazy stories with your friends and family.